Welcome to lesson 14 of Financial Sobriety School. Today, the lesson is all about learning how to break free from addictive spending. This is a big piece of what I teach in Financial Sobriety School because being addicted to spending money is a thing. It is absolutely something that is really normal in our society. Overspending, compulsive spending, excessive spending is different ways to say just that, addictive spending. And that's where the word financial sobriety comes from, right? Is breaking free from that addictive spending and starting to have a more sober relationship with our money. So, breaking free is overcoming the patterns of addictive, compulsive, impulsive, excessive spending. And so when I say that, did you feel a little sting? Did you feel like, "Oh my god, I wanna turn this off like yesterday. I do not wanna listen to this. This is the last thing I wanna listen to." If that's how you're feeling, then I truly believe that that is why you need to listen to this, right? It's so hard for us to sometimes look at the stuff that's really, really hard. And that's actually the first thing about trying to break free from those patterns, those behaviors, is actually recognizing, like, hey, there's a problem here. And what I want to say to that is it's really normal in this day and age that you are having that, right? We live in a capitalist, consumer driven society. And we are told, and I say this over and over again, so I may be repeating myself, but we're celebrated to go into debt, to, spend all of our money and spend, spend, spend. But then there comes that time when all of a sudden it's, well, actually that's shame. That's shame that you did that. But meanwhile, that's all we're hearing in this life of ours is spend, 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 and the dopamine hit that we get. Next lesson, I'm going to talk about all about dopamine and what that means with your spending, to help you understand it a little bit more. But today, I just wanted to talk broadly about breaking free of addictive spending, what that looks like, because everybody, I think, is really feeling the pinch of the economy right now. And there's some people that I like to call it the F it button. We just hit the F it button when things start feeling really, really hard, or that little inner rebel in us is like, yeah, no, not taking part in this, and feel really, really angry, and then do some anger spending. And there's a lot of emotions that come up right now. Emotional spending, right? That whole urge to feel better, that urge to chase happiness, which I'm sure so many of you resonate with, right? So if you heard me at the beginnings talk about the different words for overspending, addictive spending, but then, that term chasing happiness, does that resonate? Is that something that you do? So again, acknowledging that there is a problem, and I it seems like a hard word to call it a problem, but at the same time, like, are you being kept up at night because of your spending habits? Are you constantly in a shame spiral? Are you completely stressed out about your credit card debt or your debt overall? And it could just even be a small problem, but a problem really is, something that you want to solve, right? So I use that term because I know that when I was in the depths of my addictive spending, I had a freaking problem. There was no question about that. So what we want to try to do is start to gain control of our spending. And I say this when I am meeting with someone right away, is that money is a long game. Money is one of those things where you actually, like, it's not going to be all of a sudden like, oh, your triggers go away and it all is happy and you're ready to go. Financial sobriety is a pink cloud. No, it can feel hard. And because What the work really is about is finding those triggers and realizing when you're triggered and stopping the behavior before it even starts. Identifying what triggers you. What is a moment where, think of the last time that you spent money that you didn't have, and, whether it was a necessity or whether it was something you actually really didn't need, but you just did it anyways. Do you even remember being present at all before you did that? Do you even remember what, led you to do that? Go onto your online shopping. Like, our minds are so, like, we have neural pathways in our brain that go think, buy, shame, right? Think, buy, shame. And it's just, we keep, oh, I need this. Okay, on your phone. Boom. You have that. Okay, dopamine hit. And then it's like the crash. And when we're chasing that happiness, that dopamine hit, is it actually making us happy? No. No, it's not, because that shame spiral, it's like the up, 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 like, I picture, like, that ride, I don't remember what it was at Disneyland, but, like, or just a roller coaster in general, but I was so scared to go. It was in California Adventure, and I was so scared of going on a roller coaster, and it just, like, feels like it takes forever to go up, and it's up, 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 and the spending happens, and then you start to go down, and you go down really, really quickly. So that's where, identifying, okay, like, what triggers me? I know that when I'm tired, I'm triggered. I know that when I'm feeling anger, I'm triggered. And I know that when I'm feeling happy is actually the time where I actually used to do the most spending. And because it was like the dopamine was already hitting, and it was just kind of like, okay, I get to celebrate and celebrate with, being able to buy something. For example, like, if something really, really good happened in my business, or something felt really, really good at home, and it's like you want to celebrate. But why do we always have to celebrate by buying something? That's what we want to stop doing, right? And, one of the things is, recognizing those triggers, and then, identifying different things that are going to replace spending. What are some things that you can do for dopamine instead? And that could be something like dancing. It could be, yoga. It could be going out for a really good walk. It could be tossing the ball for your dog and seeing how freaking happy they are. It could be screaming into a pillow and just getting some energy moving and kind of getting a stress cycle to start to move. And, what can you do instead? One thing I'll say is removing your credit cards from all of the apps or all of the online stores that you use, because a lot of our dopamine and stuff, and in this day, like, yes, we're going into stores, but also the online shopping is really, really big, and the Uber Eats, the DoorDash, all of that. Having our credit cards on there, where nowadays we all have, like, Visa debits if you're with a big bank. If you're with a credit union, there isn't the Visa debit cards, but put that in so it comes straight out of your bank account, right? So, and in saying that, maybe you want to not have anything at all on the apps. And because Amazon, one of those things that all my clients, I can't think of one client I have right now that doesn't feel like Amazon is a problem. And as one of my prior clients said, then the little boxes of shame show up, right? So it's think, buy, shame. What's happening with our addictive spending? So first, we want to recognize there's a problem. We want to know what our triggers are. We want to be able to think of what else could possibly give you dopamine. So that's where I was talking about the going outside, getting in nature, going for a walk, playing with your dog, cuddling with your cat, and just be in a different space than that moment of impulse. And again, that's the biggest piece of the work is finding what those impulses are. Another big thing of breaking free from this pattern is getting some support, whether that looks like a Facebook group. There is a financial sobriety Facebook group that I host. So if you need to get in there, just search that financial sobriety school, and there is a Facebook group. And with that, get some support, put it out there. Like, what are you needing some help with? And then as well, coaching might be a thing. You can book a call with me. You can do that at lindaparmar.com. Talk about some coaching options. You could have an accountability buddy, right? Who else is working on their financial sobriety? Talk to them. Maybe there's a friend, and removing that stigma of all that shame and being able to open up and say, hey, I need some help. Community, connection, all of that. Connection is a source of dopamine. So, who could you reach out to? What could you reach out to get some support with your money and to be accountable for your choices when it comes to your finances? If we're just accountable to ourselves, we kind of know how that's already going to go, right? So, I know that when I'm accountable to myself, I unfortunately can break promises to myself super, super easy, especially when something feels really, really hard. And that's okay, right? That's what community is about. That's what connection's about. That's what being able to reach out and say things out loud and get some support. You deserve financial sobriety. You deserve to start to work on your relationship with money. I can guarantee you that you deserve that. Practicing sober spending is part of breaking free. And what I mean by sober spending is being conscious, being mindful, being, present when you're spending money, right? So we go from addictive, so where we're not really thinking about it, it's just like a habit that's formed that isn't serving us. And then we get into sobriety, right? Sober spending, knowing what we're spending, being very, very clear about it, planning what we're spending. Money needs us to be specific. Money can't have just like, oh, hey, I'm going to go shopping and this is how much I might spend. No, you need a list. You need a budget of how much, or a spending plan of how much that you're going to spend or you can spend. And that's going to be all part of like making a spending plan. But really, like, okay, where am I at with money right now? Check in with your money. When we work with our money works with us. Instead of just going like, okay, I have no idea what's happening in my bank account, but off I go to spend money that maybe I have, maybe I don't have, and I don't know what I'm buying, but be clear, plan. Please, please plan. It's one of the biggest pieces. Um, Start to set some small goals with your money. And that will start to even be a little bit more of a dopamine hit. And dopamine, when you set a small goal, so like say for example, let's say this week I have within my spending plan, I can spend $200 on groceries, and I can spend $50 on eating out. And what if you achieve that at the end of the week? That's even just a small financial goal. And at the end of the week, when you've actually followed through with your plan, and that feels incredible. And the first time that that happens, and it's like, hey, I can do this. That's a dopamine hit. That's a like celebration, celebrate you, celebrate your money. I just love it when I see people setting just, those can be goals, spending limits. It can be a goal to be present when you're spending your money, but being really clear about what does that mean, right? Be clear, plan. Um, the last thing that I think is really important when it comes to breaking free of our patterns and behaviors of addictive spending is to always make sure that you're practicing radical self compassion. And I read this quote, and I hope I get this right. It was, if you aren't healing your relationship with money with self-compassion, you're starting a new problem, right? So it's starting just another shame spiral. Like change doesn't come with shame. Change comes with being really, really kind to ourselves and nice to ourselves. And what are those narratives that you have about money that keep going and going and going? Is that being nice to yourself? And, being gentle and being able to say, like, I can do this. And this is also where, that self compassion piece could be reaching out for support. It could be kind of coming to your community or to myself or your friend, accountability buddy, and, saying like I'm really shooting on myself about what I should be doing with my money. I love that term, shooting on yourself. I think it's great. When I heard it the first time, and it's just, I love it. So stop shooting on yourself about money. What is one tiny, tiny thing you can celebrate right now as you're thinking about it with your money? That's part of the self compassion, and really, really dropping into that heart, not talking bad to yourself. Uh, you know, I know that myself, I do it all the time. I talk to myself horribly. And then it's like, how would I talk to other people? How would I talk to my best friend? How would I talk to my husband? I am my own worst enemy. So that's where I remind you of having that self compassion. And we're so quick to judge ourselves and think we're doing something wrong with money. But what if you're doing something right? Just even one thing doing right. Because I'll often have people in a discussion like, oh, I'm doing horribly. Like I'm doing so bad this week. And then we'll start talking. And then it's like, oh, but I did this, I did this, I did this. And they're not even recognizing within themselves the celebrations. And because we're not used to that, we're not used to celebrating our money. Breaking free from that addictive spending. Thank you for listening to the lesson today or watching the lesson. I am going to be hosting a live class on identifying triggers. So, within this breaking free lesson that we just had, one of the things that you want to do to start to break free of this patterns and behaviors is being able to identify the triggers that keep you in your addictive spending patterns. So I am going to be having that live class on Wednesday, August the 30th. We are going to have it at 4 o'clock Pacific time. I would love for you to join the live class, get really, really clear on identifying what triggers. It'll be kind of a workshop style. So I'll have some questions and stuff for you, some journaling, and you can sign up for that at lindaparmar.com/class. I will put this in the show notes as well. Thank you for being here for lesson 14. Can't believe we're at lesson 14 of Financial Sobriety School. Thank you so much. Be well. See you next time.